Sui, a sweet, kind, introverted girl, was walking home from school alone. She didn't have many friends, so she often walked by herself. Passing through the market, Sui spotted a shop full of drawing supplies. She had a deep love for drawing and art, but her dad wanted her to focus solely on her studies. So, she could only admire the shop from afar before heading home. On the way, she reached a busy zebra crossing where an elderly woman was struggling to cross the street due to heavy traffic, with no one stopping to help. Although Sui wanted to assist, her shyness held her back. She tried to ignore it and continue on her way, but her kind nature couldn't just leave the lady struggling. Finally, she turned back and went to help her. "Let me help you, Grandma," she said softly. The elderly woman smiled. "Thank you, dear." Sui carried her bags and helped her cross the road. As she was about to leave, the woman held her hand. Sui turned around. "Let me give you something," the grandma said, handing her a small box of cards. "What's this, Grandma?" Sui asked, puzzled. "A gift, my dear." The woman winked and waved goodbye. "A gift, huh?" Sui thought as she made her way home. That evening. At home, Sui was studying. She had a dream to gain independence, to pursue her passions, things her parents didn't understand or support. She focused on her studies, but the little box the grandma gave her caught her eye. The label on the box read, 52 wishes. Write down one. She opened it to find 52 cards, each with symbols like diamonds, clubs, spades, and some with numbers, a king, a queen, an ace, and a joker. It's probably a game for kids, she thought with a smile, but her curiosity won over, and she decided to make a wish, writing it down on one of the cards. Then she put the remaining cards back in the box and returned to her studies. Unnoticed by her, the card she wrote on disappeared from the desk. Later, feeling sleepy, she searched for the card, but couldn't find it anywhere. Confused, she decided to let it go and went to bed. Just as she closed her eyes, she heard music playing. Opening her eyes, she found herself seated in the front seat of a car with a man in a suit, his hair slightly messy, driving. "Am I dreaming?" "No," replied the man. Sui looked out the window, shocked to see the car flying through the air. "Cars don't fly," she mumbled. "Where are we going and who are you?" Sui asked, curiosity overcoming her shyness. "To fulfill your wish for spicy food," said the driver, glancing at her with tired yet kind eyes. "Spicy food?" Sui suddenly remembered her wish on the card. "Is this real?" she asked loudly, an unusual reaction for her usually reserved self. "Yes, I'm the agent of wishes, and you're lucky to have 52 of them," he replied. "So it's not a dream," Sui thought and smiled. The music played on. "The light of night is not invisible, the eyes aren't eligible to see." "Wait, how long will it take to get there?" Sui asked, suddenly realizing she had to be at school in the morning. "Don't worry, we'll reach there in about 10 minutes, the driver replied, chuckling. "Will you take me back home afterward?" Sui asked, a bit stressed. The driver chuckled again and said, "Just enjoy the moment. Let me handle everything else." Sui relaxed a bit, feeling a warmth from him she couldn't quite explain. The music continued. "The light of night is not invisible. The eyes aren't eligible to see." After 10 minutes, they arrived. The driver instructed Sui to close her eyes. "Why?" Sui asked. "Just do as I say," he replied with a playful grin. "All right, but don't try anything funny," she mumbled, closing her eyes reluctantly. She could suddenly feel solid ground under her feet and opened her eyes. In front of her was a grand restaurant with a glowing sign that read, "Spicy on Spicy." The driver, now standing beside her in his suit and hat, said, "Let's go inside." Sui nodded, though she felt a bit self-conscious in her pajamas and slippers. The driver seemed to sense her hesitation and reassured her, "Don't worry about it." "Can't you see your reflection in the glass?" he added, pointing to a nearby window. To her surprise, Sui saw herself wearing a beautiful dress. "How?" she murmured, but the driver was already at the counter ordering food. A waiter approached, smiling. "Ma'am, please take a seat at your table." Sui nodded and took a seat. The restaurant was elegant, and in front of her soon lay a variety of beautifully arranged, spicy dishes. She took a bite, savoring the taste. "So spicy, but so delicious," she exclaimed. Noticing that the driver wasn't eating, she asked, "Aren't you going to try anything?" "I'm not hungry," he replied with a faint smile. "It feels weird eating all by myself," she muttered under her breath. The driver, sensing her discomfort, ordered a hot coffee. "Better now?" he asked with a small smile. "I didn't mean it like that," she pouted, but then laughed softly. "But yeah, thanks." As Sui slurped up some noodles, she suddenly sneezed, and the noodles shot out of her nose, causing the driver to chuckle as one noodle landed in his coffee. He sighed, offering her a handkerchief from his pocket to clean herself up. "This is so spicy," Sui sniffed, feeling the burn. "Just sneeze into the handkerchief, it'll help," the driver advised, and miraculously it worked. The spice subsided instantly. "Wow, it worked, and it's still clean," Sui marveled. "You really are a magician." "Only now you realize?" The driver laughed softly. After dinner, they stepped outside and the cold air hit them. The driver took off his blazer, wrapping it around Sui. "My magic fades when your wish is fulfilled," he said warmly. She felt comforted by his gesture. "Thank you," she said softly. "All right, let's hurry," the driver told her, and Sui nodded, closing her eyes as he instructed. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the car. The music continued. "The light of night is not invisible. The eyes aren't eligible to see." Sui gazed out the window, watching the city lights blur against the night. Sleep started to creep over her, and the driver, noticing, lowered the volume of the music. As she drifted off, he dimmed the lights inside the car, leaving only a few soft indicator lights glowing on the dashboard and the music screen. "Good night," he whispered. The next morning, Sui woke up in her bed. "Was it all just a dream?" she murmured, still feeling a bit groggy. She had to get ready for school, so she got up quickly, but immediately felt a familiar pang in her stomach. Rushing downstairs, she nearly collided with her mom, who was on her way up to wake her. "Why the rush?" her mom asked, but Sui just darted past her straight into the bathroom. The spicy feast from last night was catching up with her. Afterwards, she skipped breakfast and hurried to school. She went through her usual classes, but found herself unable to focus, replaying the events of last night over and over in her head. Dreams don't usually stick like this, she thought to herself, puzzled. At lunchtime, she and her only friend headed up to their usual spot on the school roof. "Hey, say, what would you wish for if you knew it would be granted?" Sui asked, her voice a bit distant. I'd wish for tons of money. Then I could buy anything I want," her friend replied, laughing. "But why do you ask?" she asked, noticing Sui's distracted look. "Just curious," Sui answered, avoiding the question with a little laugh. Her friend noticed Sui's lunch was barely touched. "Aren't you going to eat anything?" "I'm not hungry. Wanna have it?" Sui offered. "Really?" "Thanks." Her friend dug into the food happily, and Sui couldn't help but smile, remembering how she'd eaten with that mysterious driver last night. It made her feel warm and embarrassed all at once. Later that evening, Sui sat on the balcony with her dog, Shiro. She stroked his soft fur, lost in thought. "Hey, Shiro, I met this strange person last night, a magician. He granted my wish, but I can't tell if it was real or just a dream." Shiro tilted his head and gave a small woof, as if he understood. Sui chuckled, cuddling him close. "You're so cute," she murmured, feeling comforted by his presence. But her mom called out from inside, "Sui, time to finish your homework." With a sigh, she replied, "Yes, Mom." After she finished her studies, she felt sleepy, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she needed to test something, to see if last night's encounter had been real. "I want to see the snowfall," she wrote on a card, placing it carefully on her table. Then, she climbed into bed, her eyes closed, waiting expectantly. Nothing happened. She began to doubt herself. Maybe it really was just a dream, she thought with a sigh. But then she remembered something the driver had said. "Close your eyes." What if closing my eyes takes me back to that car? She thought, and took a deep breath, squeezing her eyes shut. The moment she did, a strange sensation came over her. She opened her eyes, and there she was, in the car. She turned slowly toward the driver's seat, her heart pounding. "It's not a dream," she whispered with a smile, feeling a wave of excitement and wonder